Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the organizing committee of the National Seminar on Meaningful Education for Excluded, Strategies for Higher Education, and on behalf of the Centurion University, I welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Badri Seshadri and Ms. Vidya Seshadri. I welcome our speakers from outside the university, Professor Malcolm Harper, Mr. C.K. Dwarkanath, Mr. K.B. Jinan, Professor Sahadev, and professors from other academic institutions. In fact, each of them have become part of our university, so sometimes we often fail to notice that they are outsiders. They have never remained outsiders. They have become part of our family. I welcome our Vice President, Professor D.N. Rao, other speakers, student and faculty panelists, chairpersons of different sessions. I also welcome my faculty colleagues, administrative staff, and students of the university, and the family members. I welcome the representative of other institutions and all the participants of this conference. The two-way close linkage between higher education and socio-economic development is well recognized. It means, like higher education, we know that it affects overall socio-economic development, and the socio-economic development that we have or we go through, it also affects our education. It's a two-way process. Unfortunately, we in India have failed to manage this linkage well. The outcome is visible in the form of weak governance and management of most of the institutions, poor state of education and health sector, and utter failure in ensuring livelihood security of millions. The scholars from across the country are crying out for changes. Against this context, we at Centurion University are trying, in our own small way, to find little solutions to this huge problem. The broad objective of the conference is to identify implementable strategic interventions in higher educational institutions that can support sustainable development with dignity, to borrow from noted economist Professor Amit Baduri. More specifically, we are interested to understand how meaningful higher education can be provided to all those who enter into our university and all those who live in the geographical region where we operate. So our focus is narrowly we define those who enter into our system, and in the ecosystem in which we operate, we want to ensure how meaningful higher education can be provided to them. The conference will be held for 2 days with a keynote address, 4 technical sessions, 2 panel discussions, and a valedictory session. The conference is unique in the sense that it is being organized in the hub of underdevelopment region in the country. It is biased towards action. It involves those who are the major stakeholders and moves away from the traditional way of imparting education or participating in the education system. All the participants are active seekers to find solutions to the complex problem we are in. We look forward to your active participation and finding some solutions to the problems we are facing. Few words of introduction about our keynote speaker. Dr. Badri Seshadri is a person I am personally proud of. I am sure you all will also be proud of his social entrepreneurship that we require in millions in our country. I knew of him from Subrata Bagchi's Jain Garden. I was not sure whether he would listen to our direct request. Hence, I requested Kalyan, my friend, to catch him via Subrata Bagchi. While the strategy worked, I guess Probably he would not have declined had I explained him the purpose of Centurion University's existence clearly. Let me share what I learned from Jain Garden about him, and it will give little bit explanation and introduction about him. He is a graduate of IIT Chennai and having doctoral degree from Cornell University. He was co-founder of Cricinfo, a company that provides technical assistance to cricketing world in their real-time commentary. His second company, New Horizon Media, is the largest regional language publisher of the books of current and contemporary interest. There are many more achievements to his credit. His interest is primarily in education. Actively engaged in popularizing science, he writes regularly in newspapers and appears in numerous TV discussions. But what I consider important in the journey he has taken, the school of experience he has gone through. One illustration will be enough. When he entered into IIT Chennai, his English language competency, if I say so, was at low level. He had few friends who were equally poor in the English language. His teacher did not bother to convey her misfortune for being given the task of teaching English to those unfortunate students. Hence, Badri belonged to the group of excluded students. His subsequent experience of being in the teaching profession probably was not appearing that meaningful. When I went through his story in the Jain Garden, I felt he is the right person. Who else can be the better for our event than the excluded himself? Ladies and gentlemen, without taking more of your time, let me invite the excluded Dr. Badri Seshadri to deliver the keynote address for this national seminar.
I'll start with a little anecdote which Dr. Panda was indicating. When I went to the IIT, I had gone from a small town to Chennai, and though I studied in supposedly English medium, the first 5 years the primary schooling was completely in Tamil medium, and then I went to an English medium school. It's only English medium in name. The entire learning was a sort of mix of English and Tamil, and I wasn't conversant in actually, comfortable in speaking in English. Whereas when I entered IIT, I could see about 80 to 90% were quite comfortable in English. We're all mostly from the cities. Even if you look at the Tamil Nadu contingent, about 90% plus of them were directly from Chennai and from fairly good schools and were very comfortable. And it appeared as if like English was their first language. That was not the case for me. It took a fair bit of time to get adjusted to that, and we were all asked to write an exam. First day, a test to find out our English proficiency. And those of us who failed, including me, were put in English as one of the humanities courses. And those who did well in English were allowed to take German, which is very strange, right? So you are very good in English, therefore you can go and take German or whatever it is that you want. Yeah. So I took English for about 3 semesters, and I don't know what it actually did to me, nothing much I suppose. And then over time, over the next few years, I slowly picked up enough English to reasonably communicate in English. I can write and read, but that's pretty much it. Since then, and even much after that, I've been fairly interested in this particular area. So interested that I have persuaded my wife to do a PhD in this area, and let's see what she comes up with. Much of what I'm going to talk about, I'm not a researcher. I'm not a teacher. I don't do serious research as most of you here are doing. But I do observe, and I visit a lot of educational institutions. out of my own interest. I go and talk to school students, I go and talk to college students, both about their subjects and subjects that I'm familiar with, and also about general topics. Okay? So that's the only introduction that I can give. Our education system in India has been basically, the higher education has been in English, but every state, particularly the linguistic states as they were formed, started introducing the respective medium. Now, I can give you some specific examples. You take something like in Tamil Nadu or the Madras province, which later became Tamil Nadu. The professional courses to this day are all in English. Medical, engineering, law. In 1973-74, law colleges allowed teaching in Tamil. In 2010-11, English, Tamil was introduced for the first time in engineering colleges, in select engineering colleges. And the experiment has been a complete disaster, and I will talk about that later. The current year admission, if you look at it, 80% of the seats have not been taken at all in the Tamil medium space, and that is being offered only in very few schools. But every other course, interestingly, though they originally were teaching only in English medium, today Tamil is the primary medium of instruction in most of the rural and semi-urban towns, and even in the in mainstream towns like Chennai or Trichy or Madurai, etc. Okay, so today you can study any course other than the ones that I have talked about. Medical, you can't do it in Tamil. Engineering, you can, but you don't for some reason. Law and everything else can be done in Tamil medium. Tamil medium is the most popular. The interesting thing is that even where there is English medium, right, the government has passed an order, the state government, that you can write your exams in Tamil or English or in mixed mode. So your one sentence can be in Tamil, the next sentence can be in English. Parts of the words, it can be Tamil and English together. I don't know whether something similar exists in other states. I have no idea. In fact, you can enroll in supposedly English medium college and you have the right to write your exam in Tamil. It's left to the teachers to figure out what you have written and correct and give you marks. Okay? And in a Tamil medium, you can actually write in English. It's a free for all. I don't know what the impact is. I am merely observing these facts. And interestingly, nobody seems to have studied many of these things. What is the impact of something like this? Okay. How about the teachers, instructors? I must have visited at least 300, probably even 500 institutions across Tamil Nadu over the last many years. That include engineering colleges, education colleges, simple arts and science colleges, schools, high schools, elementary schools, private schools, government aided schools, across the spectrum. Okay, I regularly do that. I do that even now. The teachers are invariably, their English competency, okay, their subject competency is another issue. Their English competency is, except for very few schools, handful of schools, it's quite bad, basically, and you can't really blame them. So let's come to last. It's the teaching is generally in bad English, smattered with Tamil words, or completely in Tamil with English words embedded here and there. And this even in English medium classrooms. Where it is Tamil medium, actually, I have observed, where it is much better, because it's their language and they can communicate well, and the subject knowledge may be iffy, but at least the communication is fairly smooth. In many schools, the problem is the same for the students. In English medium schools, in these pseudo-English medium schools, the students are forced to communicate only in English, and what they speak it's not English. some confusing thing. But in some schools where the students have been allowed to communicate in any language they want, I see that the communication is very comfortable. So the purpose is something that we have to really talk about. I'm just setting up for what I want to talk about later. Textbooks are something that I have been closely following, particularly because I am a publisher. I'm not a textbook publisher, but I'm very keen about school textbooks. In Tamil Nadu right now, the predominant syllabus is the state government syllabus, and the textbooks are produced by the government through its textbook society. And I must say that both in Tamil and English, they are uniformly bad. So they are not partial. Extremely badly written prose, right from, whether it is science or social science or even Tamil textbook, Tamil language textbook, extraordinarily badly written. But this is what, and same thing continues into college. If you're lucky and your school, your college follows some autonomous syllabus and international quality textbooks, which there are plenty. So if you want to teach good physics, you can always find a good book. But most of the textbooks that college teachers have been using are local textbooks written either by a faculty in that particular college or from a nearby college, and they're abysmal. They're absolutely trashy, really. Okay? And I have really perused a variety of these textbooks. There was a point in time that I thought I should actually be getting into textbook publishing after seeing the quality of books, but I've not figured out exactly what strategy I should follow there. Well, all this is happening at the other end, on the social level particularly. Every school, the primary school and the high school, not yet in the college level, every school is trying to become an English medium school, right across, including government schools. Okay? So this is going to set us for a major crisis. The crisis is already there, and we are probably discovering it only now. So let me develop some of this. So how does this happen? English as a medium of instruction, because English or the language skill, it's a qualification for finding job. This is the primary driver. Right across, and my experience is primarily only Tamil Nadu, and I don't know exactly how it is in other states. It may be in various degrees of closeness to this, or quite opposed to that, I don't know. Okay. But typically in Tamil Nadu, in any student-driven, let's say, some kind of a self-improvement lesson, meeting or something like that, where an expert comes and talks to the students, eventually they will insist that the only hope or salvation for the students is to learn English and become proficient in English in order to find a job. This is the general gyan that is given in almost every single school level meet or at a very large public meet involving students, and they are given some kind of guidance and counseling. The first point is invariably about English. You must have English knowledge in order to become very successful in your career. So this is the typical advice that is given. In IT jobs, in BPO, which is plenty in Chennai and in and around Tamil Nadu, the preference is given to only those who are good in English. Particularly if you are doing a call center and you have to call somebody in Australia or UK or US, which is primary job, you have to have some knowledge of English. And there are separate entities which specialize in this, give you neutral accent English coaching or particular accented English coaching. And those who are already starting off with a certain level of English always have higher preference. So they get better jobs, better pay. Even marketing, receptionist jobs in restaurants, where the clientele is predominantly Tamil speaking. The waiters are trained to speak in English. So you enter the restaurant, it's always the communication with you is in English, good or bad English, whatever it is. So, somebody who's knowledgeable in English is seen as somebody who is capable. Okay. Nothing else is seen. So this has basically made, parents particularly, that the children have to become proficient in English, and only then they will find a job. And this is repeated by media in any kind of program that they are offering, any television program or anything related to job, career guidance, counseling. This is simply repeated. So, in order to react to something like this, what did the schools do? This is what has been happening over the last 2 decades in particular. The schools simply assumed that the best way of providing English capability is to offer them English medium education. So this simply, the medium change was presented only by the schools. I don't think initially the parents went to these schools and asked them for an English medium education. They probably wanted solid, good teaching in English. The school simply converted that into an English medium education. So what is happening is that rather than providing a very good functional, notional knowledge of English, the whole education itself has been moved to the English platform. Notice that I'm talking about all of this at the school level, and how it's going to reflect at the college level I'll talk about next. Now, interestingly, I went and looked at the kind of conversation that was happening between somebody like Macaulay and John Stuart Mill. Macaulay wanted the entire platform to be in English, but interestingly, John Stuart Mill was asking the same question. I mean, if somebody wants to work for the English East India Company, let him learn whatever it is in his own, be it Sanskrit or Arabic or Urdu, or doesn't matter, whatever it may be. Just give them a basic English knowledge that they can actually do the clerical job. But that didn't happen. Eventually the higher education institutions remained in English. Now, my father went to college at the time of just the switchover between the British period to the post-Indian independence. And right at that time itself, his school education was in Tamil, but his college education was in English. His intermediate was in English, his BCom that he studied was in English. So it's only much later that Tamil medium came in higher education. Anyway, I'll skip this. So instead of a strong English language teaching and a mother tongue education, the higher education remained completely in English medium, and the whole thing percolated down. So I'll just describe how the school education scenario is in Tamil Nadu right now. The government has stopped building schools. The government schools stopped way back, two decades back. All new schools today in Tamil Nadu are private schools. All are not even financed, so there's no government aid at all. The earlier model was that there were fully government funded schools and some of the government aided private schools, where the teacher salary alone was borne by the government. To my knowledge, when I was studying, that's about 30 years, about 40 years back, there were very few private schools, this fully self-financed, completely 100% private schools. But in the last 2 decades, every single school that has come out is a fully private school. And these fully private schools are 100% English medium. They don't even offer Tamil medium as a choice. And even in the remotest village, this is the case today. Okay? And all the government aided schools, they are sort of frozen in time, as in those schools which were getting government aid, only those schools continue to get the government aid. No new schools will get it. And even these schools have shifted, they are offering both medium. English medium and Tamil medium. But at a certain point in time, the English medium used to be about, out of about 100 students, but 20 students will be in English medium and 80 students in Tamil medium. Today it is 90 and 10. Some 10 students in Tamil medium and 90 students in English medium. And this is gradually changing right across. And over the last couple of years, Government of Tamil Nadu, in the schools that they have been running, that's the municipal corporation schools and across the state schools, they have started introducing English medium, and there is this huge run for them within the school. And these schools, they're primarily used by the lowest economic criteria, lower, the poorest of the poor actually, the urban poor and the rural poor, because the well-off are moving to private schools. So the government schools are today frequented only by the poor people, and they all want English education. And there is real clamor for this. So everybody is getting into the English medium, though the teachers in these government schools have never really taught in English. The government has simply demanded that they teach in English medium that is. No training has been given to them. And overnight, just starting last year, they first piloted in one school per district or something like that. And last year they have sort of opened it up. Like every school they are introducing English medium, and the teacher has to simply start teaching in English. And I have been visiting these schools. I have visited these schools. I have been sitting with them, I distribute storybooks to them in Tamil, in English. I get them to read those books. The result is like total disaster. Most of the children cannot read at all. They can't read in Tamil even. Okay? So, that will take us into a totally different topic. But my observation, and ASER reports keep reinforcing that this is actually the fact, that the students cannot read in Tamil and English of what is adequately expected of them. So I don't know exactly what the teachers are doing, but the net result is that the students cannot read, they cannot comprehend, and they cannot write at all. Okay? And the teachers in particular, and their subject knowledge is another issue, they just aren't trained to teach in English. And later on I'll talk about this, that even in the teaching colleges, the teacher training institutes, there is no understanding of training the teachers for teaching in Tamil, teaching in English, or teaching in a sort of bilingual place. For example, in these government schools, the same teacher is simultaneously teaching in English medium to a class and Tamil medium to another class. They have to take the same subject. They have not been given any kind of special training to even deal with this. And when the students leave the school, they are neither proficient in English nor in Tamil. They can't write a paragraph in either language. Okay? Now we are moving into, so from school they are going to college. So what happens there? Just to give you some numbers and the kind of lopsidedness in Tamil Nadu, it may vary in different places. The number of arts and science colleges in Tamil Nadu today are 538. And these numbers have grown marginally. Probably a decade back there were about 450 to 480 colleges, and about 80 or so have been added. But the number of engineering colleges are 552. Actually they're 600. And some of the engineering colleges have just simply gotten a deemed university status. They call themselves university. They're primarily engineering colleges. They call themselves some university or the other, VIT University, SRM University, but they are basically primarily engineering colleges. They may not even offer arts and science program for that matter, right? So about 600 engineering colleges, 500 plus arts and science colleges have completely, ignored all the other, the medical, dental, paramedical and other law, etc. But they are just handful, they are not too huge. You have 700 education colleges. offering B.Ed. M.Ed. So we're just producing teachers in large numbers who are completely incapable. That is the other story. And now look at this. Well, I have slides for that. Now, engineering and medical is completely, engineering, medical, dental, nursing is offered in Tamil medium in few places, but predominantly they are all English medium. And as I remarked at the beginning, the experimental introduction of Tamil medium in engineering is a total disaster. Why is it a disaster? It was introduced just by a government order without any kind of thinking through. There were no textbooks. The teachers, the professors in engineering colleges who have been teaching in English medium for the last few decades, were not given any training. Most of them are Tamilians. Well, almost 90% of them are probably Tamilians. But they can't teach in English because that's not their background. They've learnt in English. They've been teaching in English. The normal communication language is Tamil. They cannot teach in Tamil. The words, the scientific vocabulary. There have been attempts in trying to put them together in Tamil. There are plenty of work that has happened in that area. But textbooks have not been properly using them. Right? So if I'm going to teach mechanical engineering, I need to use all kinds of special terminologies, and the equivalent words in Tamil have not been developed at fairly high level. The sentence structure, I mean, if you ask me about Newton's laws, since they have been taught in schools, the equivalent text is there. But if you have to go into cutting and making a gear, for example, the words for that will not be there. The gap at a higher education level is tremendous. Okay. But interestingly, wherever Tamil medium has been introduced over the last few decades, that is at least from the 60s and 70s, slowly, there are reasonable textbooks and some degree of teaching has been going on in those subjects. Now, what happens when a student moves from high school to college? They have three options. It's very rare that the fourth one is taken. That is, those who have done English medium at school level go to Tamil medium at the college level. It's the other way. English medium to English medium, most of them. But then Tamil medium to English medium is also quite significant. That happens at the 12th to the first year college level. I can't call myself one such. But for all practical purposes, I was really moving from a Tamil medium background to an English medium background. Okay. Now, what happens in these English medium colleges? The large majority of English medium teachers in engineering colleges I have interacted with themselves extremely bad in their command of language and their subject knowledge also. So it just compounds the problem. There are 600 engineering colleges and we don't have sufficient faculty. A very small fraction of them actually have a PhD. Very, very small percentage. Most of them have just completed their bachelor's and some have done masters. And they have not found any other job. So they have become faculty members in engineering colleges. This is the same thing in the management schools also. People who have just completed MBA, the next year they become instructors and they don't go through any kind of special training. They just start teaching. Okay. And one of the things, I don't know, those of you who are outside Tamil Nadu, and I don't know how it is in other places, there is at least one reporting of suicide in an engineering college every year that I have been observing over the last few years, invariably linked to the inability of the student in coping with what is happening in the classroom. what has not been reported is probably even more. People who have discontinued and have run away. People who are miserable. Okay. It's the social, the problem that we see there has not been again studied completely. And even in premier institutions like the College of Engineering Guindy, is one of the oldest engineering college in the Madras province or the whole of South India. Last year there was one case, the year before there was one case of suicide, and the administration doesn't bother about these things. They just hide and just push it aside. And in every case, the medium of instruction, their inability to cope with English, the rural to urban move, the Tamil to English move, all of this have played a role. But what happens in Tamil medium colleges? I have visited many Tamil medium colleges, particularly in the arts and sciences program. And something really shocking is that even though they are supposedly Tamil medium, particularly in science, I visited few colleges where they are teaching physics and talked to the students. I had prepared a very long presentation for them, about 2 hours plus, on basic fundamentals of physics, starting from Newton to quantum mechanics. And I conversed with them completely in Tamil. And this experience was tremendous. The students who are supposedly actually learning this in Tamil medium could react very well and could understand what I was saying, and they were very comfortable with me. And then when I started asking them, so how does the teaching happen in your class? I said, it is nothing like this. Though they supposedly Tamil medium, they don't even have proper books or course notes. The teacher comes, mumbles something in sort of English and Tamil. See, they understand the words only in English, the key words. And then present it in some kind of a Tamil matrix. It's like the sambar, where the liquid is completely Tamil, in which all the vegetables are, let's say, English. And that the impact on the students is quite horrible. And they have not understood anything. 3 years of BSc physics, at the end of which they have not really learned the basic fundamentals of anything. They have no idea about Newtonian mechanics, they have no idea about relativity. All of this is there in their syllabus, but they don't even have a textbook. And the faculty members there asked me to come up with a textbook. And I'm an outsider. I mean, I'm not an academic publisher. And they're saying, we don't have books. And the government has not bothered about it. At least at the school education level, they have a textbook society. They have a company that produces textbooks. One point in time, Tamil Nadu Textbook Society used to publish textbooks for colleges. They've completely withdrawn from that, and they've left it to market forces, and the market forces have simply not reacted. So there are no textbooks for all these subjects. There are no quality sociology textbooks, economics textbooks, history textbooks, nothing whatsoever. And I am not exaggerating. Large number of students study through correspondence courses. It's a distance learning education. The distance learning education material in English medium, some books are given by the university, and those are published books. In Tamil medium, they can't even do that. So the teachers put together some notes in Tamil. They are completely unreadable. I mean, if I can actually organize a research program, one of the ideas that I have is to study the textbooks that are published by the universities. I'm talking about Madras University, premier university in Tamil Nadu. Their published or distributed textbooks for the Tamil medium students, from physics to maths to chemistry to all the sciences and all the social sciences. Horrible. I mean, maybe we can do a separate session sometime where I can bring those textbooks and we can go through those textbooks. And teachers have not been given any training in dealing with Tamil medium teaching, English medium teaching. So what happens in the end? At the end of the day, no learning whatsoever happens. They have zero learning, they don't grasp the essentials, and more importantly, they're extremely low in self-confidence. Extremely low in self-confidence. They feel that they have actually wasted their years in college. But many of them are left with nothing but to further study because they can't get any other job. So most people who are going on to higher studies further, so you finish BSc, look at all those people who are going to do MSc, they are doing it not because they love the science subject, but because they can't find a job. Let us at least go and do masters. After that, if I can't find a job further, I go and do a PhD. So most people who are enrolled right now in the masters and PhD programs even in Chennai, just imagine what is the plight in smaller towns. They are in those programs not because they actually want to continue doing research in the town. There are colleagues of my wife who is doing a PhD now, and many of them have gone into PhD program, and this is primarily anecdotal. If you ask me what is the statistics, what is the percentage, I don't have percentages. Much of what I'm talking about is basically through interaction and just anecdotes. So a person does an MPhil in one subject, can't find a job, I will do an MPhil in another subject. So education is it's a time pass. You have to spend your time. You have to deal with the idle type. So let me go and do an MPhil or a PhD. And what will they produce at the end? And their language skills are atrocious, as I've been saying. I mean, they can't write a paragraph. They can't write theses. When I go through their B.Ed, M.Ed, MPhil, PhD thesis, just the less said, the better. At the same time, those who are studying in Tamil medium, at least their communication skills are much better. Far better than the English medium students. And their understanding of the subject is not bad. In Tamil, their presentation is much better than the English medium students who are unable to even make one sentence work. But their confidence levels are also low. And this is not because, this is through external factors. And it has been drilled into their heads that they are inferior. Because if only they were better, they would have been studying in English medium. Because they are not good, they are studying in Tamil medium. So net result is that the English medium students are low in confidence, the Tamil medium students are also low in confidence, and everybody who is coming out of the college system, almost everyone, 90% plus, extremely low in confidence. So I will come to the crux, and then I have some suggestions of how this can be taken further. My conclusion, and it needs a lot of studies, but right now my observation and conclusion is that English medium is extremely bad for bulk of the students. The large majority of the students cannot survive the trauma they are going through in their college time. And the Tamil medium also has a kind of stigma attached to this. So how do you address this? So there is, on the one side you have the educational force, which ideally should be pushing you towards Tamil medium or the local language medium. And there is a social force which is pushing them in the other direction. Where, today you can't go to a parent in Tamil Nadu and tell them reasonably that no, the best thing for your child is Tamil medium, please put them there. The kind of outrage coming from them is tremendous. And all kinds of socioeconomic factors are thrown in. you are saying this because you have got an English medium education and you are an elite and you have the best everything. And you want my child to study in Tamil medium and completely, suffer right through his or her life. So that's a kind of an outrage that we are seeing. Okay. So basically I have come to the conclusion that it is today very difficult to fight with the social force. The social force right now in Tamil Nadu is to completely convert everything into English medium. There are industry leaders who are openly advocating this. They're saying, why do we need Tamil medium? Let's make everything into English medium. Okay. Without realizing that actually it is extremely difficult for the student. This is what is trotted out as an ultimate solution. Let's move everything into English medium. Okay. Now, therefore I think is that how does one find somebody studying in English medium or Tamil medium? It's a proficiency in that language, how well the student can talk in English. Because that's the proxy. I mean, nobody really is bothered about what this person knows about social sciences or history or geography. They're just communicating to them in English. So just build a very strong language program in your schools. Extremely strong language program, and teach the kids to speak in English comfortably. But when it comes to actually teaching subjects, it will have to be in the local language. Now, I'm proposing this and I don't even know whether somebody is going to accept it and is going to implement it. Probably, no, I don't see this happening in the next couple of decades even. The government is in no position to enforce it. But the need is imminent because right now what we are seeing is extremely dangerous thing that's happening. Do offer English medium for those who can cope up with it. But those who cannot must be taken out, provided education in Tamil medium. A good solid language teaching can easily be done. And that has not been happening. That's the major problem. I am of the opinion that this should go all the way to the professional courses level. That engineering should be taught completely in Tamil medium and correspondingly across the country in those respective medium. And even a master's or a PhD program should be in that medium. And if you want to write your PhD thesis in Tamil on a science subject, you should be allowed to do so. Okay. Today, many of the Tamil Nadu universities allow this for a whole range of topics. For example, I can write a PhD thesis in history in Tamil medium. But when it comes to science, they probably don't allow this, I think. I have to really check this. But it is sort of partial. But it should be completely allowed. Just that they have to be given an adequate knowledge of speaking in English, and that's more than enough. How will this happen actually? Where is the problem? The primary thing is about textbooks. And in this connection, I need to talk about something called National Translation Mission. I don't know if you are aware of this. In the previous government, Manmohan Singh government, somewhere around 5,000 crores were allocated, or so I was told, for translating selected textbooks from around, from English basically, across multiple topics, and then translate them into 10 or 12 Indian languages. I can tell you that this program has been an utter failure so far. Nothing has come out of it. Government has changed. I don't know whether the new government has any interest in this. I have not really seen anyone talking about it. This comes under the Human Resource Development Ministry, and nothing has so far been said. The Office of National Translation Mission is in Mysore, along with the languages facility there. I was involved in it in the beginning for translating a lot of books into Tamil. Okay, yeah, and that the series of talks that I used to have with them has clearly told me that it should not be a central government project at all. It should be the state government project. It's only the Tamil Nadu government that has stake in Tamil. The Odisha government that has a stake in this language. Andhra Pradesh that has a stake in Telugu language. And these governments have not even bothered about it. Now this is just a question of money. If you spend money, you will produce a decent translation. Now the translation is not good enough, you can keep improving the translation. It should be a continuous process. Okay? The other thing is that each state government should invest considerable amount of money in also producing textbooks in local languages without actually translating it. I mean, there are faculty members in hundreds of universities spread across this country, and they have to be made to write textbooks in the good ones, that is. And I'm sure they will be interested in doing that. Somehow we have not even had a moment. In this connection, I have to tell you what used to happen in Sri Lanka. Such a small country, they had a wonderful program of translating textbooks from various subjects, translated to Sinhalese and Tamil. And this was happening from 1950s. Some of the most interesting Tamil books I found, for example, Paul Samuelson's book on economics. I found a Tamil translation which I never knew existed when I went to Sri Lanka. From 1960s they had done this translation. Okay. The book is dated, subsequent editions have come. But you can see all kinds of important books. Sri Lankan government, when they were fairly reasonable and not into the kind of problems that we are seeing now, they had simultaneously been translating books in these two languages. But it is something that is not even there in the minds of the academia here in our country. Sometimes there is this problem with having too many elites who are comfortable with English, then who think that it's enough to just do everything in English. I mean, here our communication language is in English, but that's unfortunate because we are all from different parts of the world. I mean, I can't talk to you in any other language, other than Tamil and English. But it's the academic leaders in each state who should seriously be thinking about what to do in that particular language. And I have not seen a single seminar or a conference happening in Tamil Nadu where the academia have come together to talk about creating textbooks and reading material in Tamil. In the last 2 decades that I have been carefully looking at this space, not a single conference or an idea that has emerged from either the government side or from the serious academia side. The other area that I have been fairly serious about, which I think will make a big difference, is in the popular books space. So I'm basically a publisher, and I have tried to come up with a lot of popular books in Tamil in various academic subjects. I find a lot of American professors, academia and in Britain, people writing popular books in the topic. And much of what I have learnt about biology or evolutionary biology is from Richard Dawkins' popular books. Same thing in many of the other subjects. But again here I find that in Tamil, I'm told that in Malayalam there is a lot more of this attempt happening, but in Tamil, near zero. Nobody is doing this kind of work. But this is again something that needs to be triggered, funded by the state governments to start the process of creating textbooks in their subjects, whether it is psychology or sociology or education or whatever the field is. Somebody should be writing popular books that reaches people. And that is the one that develops the very language of communication, which then feeds back into the educational space. And then there is a complete loop that keeps happening. So this is largely what I wanted to talk about, that we are facing huge crisis, and I have no idea where we have to really start in trying to address this problem. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have or to learn from you your own experiences in this space.
Thank you, Badri. It has been an excellent journey for all of us, and learning from your experience the type of problems which you have highlighted. Each of us are in own unique way, partly or to a large extent we are also facing similar situations. Now I would request any observation, comments or clarifications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First one, I can do that. Yeah, it's very heartening for me to note that the Tamil Nadu has actually started Tamil in engineering. This is news to us.
Yeah.
We have been debating it for a long time. Of course, I will talk in the afternoon session, but I think you have given a very empirical level situation of what's happening. I think we should also look into the politics of this. That's what I will like to do in the afternoon. I think unless we destroy the idea of India promoted by Nehru, right, I don't think we have a solution to this problem. So we have to now take this. Language is not just what you, I mean, it's a tool of either exclusion or inclusion. It's a political tool also. So it would have been good if you also looked at, Tamil Nadu perhaps is the only state which has got that Dravidian,
Yeah.
So,
no, I can certainly talk about it. Maybe in your session I can add my views. Introduction of Tamil was primarily a political tool. Whether it was at the law school or even in the engineering college. But the way it has been introduced is also very ham-handed. It has not been properly thought through. So it was just an order of, DMK's Karunanidhi saying engineering shall be taught in Tamil. And you can't just like that do that, right? You should have prepared the community for that. The reason why it is failing now is because of this. That he was only looking at getting his name there as in, I made this happen. But you don't make this happen because it is not going to happen. The textbook publishers were not taken into confidence. The faculty members were not taken into confidence. And I will tell you specifically what happened in this case. College of Engineering, Guindy, Anna University as a primary entity, was tasked with this. They were not consulted. They were told, order signed, start. And they scrambled to, it is easy to start the admission process. And there are students, but the faculty members didn't have textbooks. They took one additional year and the students were suffering right through. Right? The reason why nobody is actually going there is because the feedback they have gotten from the first batch will be graduating now. They are in their fourth year, or they're about to graduate at the end of this year. And they have suffered it's horrible really. What has been done to them in the name of doing something like this. But on the other hand, where the politics didn't come into it that much. 70s itself we are talking about DMK's regime. But slowly, the way, even in the 60s, arts and science programs slowly got into Tamil medium. And there was no political reason. It was practical. Basically after Madras University, the next university that was set up, the Madurai Kamarajar, Madurai University, it was set up in a place where obviously the primary community was not comfortable with English. So we had to start offering Tamil medium. It's a natural process. And even then the books were not there, then books were created. It was a slow process. But when you thrust it from the top for political reasons, it's unlikely to work.
Yeah. Thanks, Badri. You suggested a few solutions towards the end, but I believe there could be other possible solutions that we need to think of. For example, looking at you, and you said that at the time you entered IIT, you were not comfortable with English. You had a Tamil-centric education, even if it was right. English medium. Now, one cannot make out today, the way you are speaking, that was the background. Okay. Similar example is Professor D.N. Rao's. He said that in class 12 he could not tell the meaning of the word poverty. Now hearing him speak today, you can't make out the difference. And from not knowing the meaning of poverty, in 6 years' time, he could compete and get into IIM Calcutta and come out of that. So the thing is, there must be other methods and maybe less painful methods by which motivated students are able to learn the language. So maybe we have not figured that out, but that could be another way. So one studies in the mother tongue till 10th, 12th or engineering, but at a certain point of time, maybe the transition to English is not so painful.
You are picking those who have crossed that barrier and are, imposing that model on everybody. That is not the way it works. I mean, those of us who have crossed that have probably some additional capability to manage that. Look at the number of people who are struggling to bridge that gap, right? I don't think, we have to always be looking at the average student and then look at what is possible for them, right? I don't know, I mean, we need to do a lot of studies. We need to go a long way in this area, and I don't think we have even started understanding the problem, right? Picking up a language for basic functional communication is quite easy. But to really orient somebody to think in that particular language and present something very smoothly in that area, to start to start using that language as the primary communication platform may not be that easy. I was in a panel discussion this Monday in Chennai with HCL's Shiv Nadar, and we had this interaction session where we were talking about his journey. And he says that he can, even now he can think only in Tamil and then translate in English at the time of presentation. Now, I don't know exactly how I'm doing it now. I mean, am I thinking in English or Tamil? I don't know actually. I have not really thought about that. But even to this day, Tamil is my actual medium of comfort. If I have to write something really complex, I can do it only in Tamil. So I have chosen to write serious things only in Tamil. I blog in Tamil. I write an odd article for an English newspaper, but much of my writing is only in Tamil. Though I may have presented this here, I can tell you that I am not comfortable with English at all. And I always feel that I have made some mistake there. There is something wrong in this sentence. There is something grammatically incorrect here, or I am not using the right idiom. So I have this. On the other hand, when I express myself in Tamil, I'm completely assured. I know what I am saying, and I can challenge anybody who is trying to find fault there. And it is that comfort. I mean, I have no problem today in talking to you in English because I need to communicate something to you. But if you knew Tamil, that is what I would have wanted to talk to you in. Because that way I feel that I will be much more forceful. Because what is the whole point? I mean, I have 5 minutes to communicate something to you. Why would I choose some language which I am not that comfortable with? So English will always remain a distant second language to me. And I think that is what it is for most people, except a handful of people who have probably forgotten their mother tongue, and they cannot be proficient in that, and they have basically chosen to take English as their primary language. That's what I think, yeah.
I have a question, sir. You said, when you went out to the survey, when English was imposed actually at the school level, and you found that some of the teachers were not proficient in English, okay? And you also found some of the teachers were not equally proficient in Tamil.
Yes.
At that point of time. What is the reason you think they were poor in Tamil? I can understand that they are poor in English, because first on there. So why they are poor in Tamil? That's my first question. The second question relates to what you said really. You said that you are not so proficient in English when you went for your higher education. I find you are perfectly fine with your English. Actually, you are very humble. But what I'm trying to say, at that point of time, did you feel handicapped as a communicator because you are poor in English? And how did you overcome that?
So
I'll read the first part. See, they're not being proficient in English is easily understood. I mean, that's not their language. They have not been teaching in that. If you take the teachers, the problem they have in Tamil is more the larger educational problem itself. Who is today the teacher in Tamil Nadu? The good ones have simply moved away to engineering and are IT professionals, unfortunately. So, the teaching community in Tamil Nadu today, it's, in terms of quality, the worst kind, in terms of academic accomplishment. So you are, it's the kind of a very sad system where teaching is, this is too complex. More than 50% of the institutions are at least 50-50. They're private institutions, private schools. Private schools pay very little to the teacher, right? The government salary, it's unlike in other areas, the government school teacher gets paid 3 times as much to even 5 times in some cases as what the private teacher is getting paid. The average salary of a private teacher is between 5,000 to 10,000 rupees a month. And the starting salary of a government school teacher is 35,000 rupees. And it goes to 50,000 rupees right now in Tamil Nadu. Right? But the government recruitment model has its own problems. And if we talk about that, it has a lot of politics also in it. So let's, we can discuss it. There is nothing, no problem. So if you have to become a private school teacher, you unless, if you are good, you don't want the 5,000 to 10,000 salary. You can go and earn 4 or 5 times that in other fields. So even if you love teaching, you won't get into teaching. And if you love teaching and you want to get into government system, it may not be that easy. So the net result is that the teaching quality has been coming down drastically year after year. When the previous government introduced this TET, the teacher eligibility test, the Tamil Nadu teachers, I don't know how it is in other places, Tamil Nadu teachers completely opposed that. And those who are already teaching, the government said even they have to write the exam, TET, and pass. And there is a huge opposition to that. We have already come, we are teaching now, we have gotten our B.Ed or M.Ed. Why are you asking us to write TET? Because if they write, they will fail. And they don't want to expose themselves to that. The quality of teachers is fairly bad, and that is a different problem, totally different problem that we need to talk about. Now, coming to, I'll answer his other question if that's okay. I found my first semester was really bad in IIT. I had very few friends that I could talk to in the hostel, very few that I could actually talk to in Tamil. And the medium of instruction was completely English, which has to be because there are students from various backgrounds, and the teachers are also not all of them Tamilians anyway, so they can't talk to you in Tamil anyway. So I will never stand up and ask a question. And all that I would do was to, just go back and take the book and keep reading and rereading and trying to sort of come to terms with what is there in the book. But I could, after 1 year, I did extremely well, at least from the subject side of things. I used to get a bit, not that good a grade in the first 2 years, but I actually ended up as class topper and won a gold medal at the end of the day. Okay, but it is the adjustment, how difficult it is a real issue. Okay, I could have, as well. I mean, if you're a little less in some sense, less or more is more a relative term that I'm saying, I might have completely given up and not really focused on academics. I might have discontinued and gone to some other institution. But that trauma is something that is not easy for many people to deal with. And I really struggled a lot. Yes.
I just wonder if we are being a little too hard on ourselves. Because India is a very unique country. If you look at language structures in the country, there's no other country like this. Look at China, much bigger than India. It doesn't have, how many languages does it have? Look at Japan, with a population of 120 million people. How many languages does it have? Look at Indonesia, look at Philippines, look at Brazil and Argentina. So we do have a very special, specific problem in the country. Secondly, why would a person in Tamil Nadu be wishing to have a language skill only in Tamil Nadu? That will circumscribe his world so very badly. He would not get a job in Punjab. He will not get a job in Rajasthan. He certainly won't get a job anywhere else in the world. And if the world is being globalized, he or she would want to do something that makes his world larger rather than smaller. So we really need to find out how is it possible rather than keep criticizing what is not there. So I think we are being a little hard. India is unique in terms of the language problem it presents. And we need to find solutions in the Indian context.
Can I see? I'm trying to differentiate between learning a subject in a language and adequately preparing myself to go to Punjab and work there, right? If I'm going to be a psychologist, let us say, or a doctor, it's an action, it's an activity that I may have to do on somebody. Now, which language I learned that is immaterial to in which language I am going to talk to a patient, right? They're two different things. Now, there are so many people who immigrate from this country to other countries and quickly pick up the language that they need to in that particular place. Do I have to study? See, if I want to go to Germany, see, I don't know where I am going to go to, for example, you're saying it's a globalized world. Do I start preparing for, Germany right now? Then will that not restrict me? I should be learning whatever it is that I want to learn in the language which is the most comfortable to me. That's the only point that I'm making. And when I decide to go to Germany, let's say, or China, if I want to go to China, I can tell you, not just me, traders who have never really had good quality formal education are speaking Mandarin comfortably and are doing very well in China, the Indian traders. Okay? So that is something that you will pick up just like that. Should it be part of your educational policy is the question that I'm asking, right? By studying something in Tamil medium, am I actually restricting myself in this world? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I need to have the right kind of basic knowledge to pass off anywhere. If I live in this particular town, I will pick up Telugu and Oriya in probably 6 months' time. I can tell you, not just me, my little daughter, or whoever it is. Okay? And if I tomorrow go to Netherlands, I will certainly pick up Dutch. So, do I have to prepare for that right now? Right? So, I don't think it is that important. I think we have to really be focused on what should be the teaching medium in which we really convey the most important concepts, and that must be in a language that the student is most comfortable with. The alternative is to completely do away with every language and choose English, not just for our country, but for the whole world. Is it possible? And is it fair? Should we be doing that? It's a question. I don't have answers, but this is troubling me, and I'm sure it is troubling a lot of people. Time.
We'll allow only 3 more questions and 2
Yeah.
more students, and last we will discuss here and other we will pick up
Yes.
in the tea time. Okay. So let us give to Chandra, let us give to student, then we will come to you. Student from the group.
Sir, I agree with you that communication must be in the proper language and native language to make us understand in a better way. We are very comfortable expressing ourselves in our native languages. But is it really necessary to translate all the books into native languages? I didn't get it properly. Why it's necessary to translate all the books from languages?
Yeah, how will you, what is, the classroom instruction is only a small part of your picking knowledge. It happens only by you reading more and more about that. It means your reading material should be available to you in the language that you are most comfortable with. Now, if you don't have that, you are restricted to what happens in the classroom teaching and nothing more. I would say that much of what I have learned is only through books. And there, my English competency helped. But those who don't have that, I mean, today when people are basically offering internet as a solution, the thing is, everything is there in internet, everything is there in English internet today. You compare English Wikipedia to Odia Wikipedia or Tamil Wikipedia, you can see the gap. So I don't have, if I am only a Tamil speaker, see the point is, then somebody will say, well, if everything is in English, learn English. If it is that easy, I have no need to talk to you about this. If it is just like pressing a button and you get that, and you can just go pick up that language and then pick up the content in that language comfortably, brilliant. I have no problems there. But I believe that that is not going to be easy for a large number of people, and we are talking about millions of people. But it is easy for a handful of people, just tens and hundreds of people who are comfortably bilingual, to translate content in one language into another language, which then immediately opens up the vast space of knowledge to the millions of people of that particular native Indian language. And this has happened right through the years. But now that speed should be picked up, and that is not happening now as much as we want that to be. That is why I said a lot of money should be spent on translating books from English and other languages into your native language. Then that immediately strengthens you. That's what I think.
Sir, I will make a point. You suggest whether I am correct or wrong. If I need to learn something and that's in English, then I must learn English, because everything around us is in English right now. If I need to learn something that can't be translated, everything can't be translated into native languages. So I think English is a necessity for learning everything. It makes a common base for everyone. So I'm correct or wrong?
I don't know. See, let me put it this way. If it is about personal issue. If you can, see, there are plenty of things in English. That's a fact. If you can pick up English, good thing. Go ahead and do that. My worry is not about you. My worry is about the large number of people that I am seeing on a daily basis, for whom learning a foreign language is not easy. And to them, I feel it is my duty and the duty of bilingual academicians to help them pick those things up. And that is where translation comes in. That's all. I'm not saying that every book must be translated into Tamil or Odia and you have to learn only from that language. That opportunity has to be made available to those people who cannot become comfortable in English. That's all.
Sir, I am really moved by your presentation about those facts related to education in Tamil Nadu. But to your point, you wish that in every state, the regional language should be made compulsory in terms of education. So also you showed the fact that in Tamil Nadu, those students who study in Tamil, they do excellent as compared to English, but they feel that they are a little bit less confident as compared to English students. Now take a situation that in every state, the regional language becomes the base of learning. When it's about employability, don't you think it will hamper that at the end of the year?
I addressed that.
That is a kind of similar question to sir, but this is my personal question that I want to just...
See, I addressed that. I'm saying that every student must be taught in the language that they are most comfortable with. So, for example, for some reason, you grow up in a home where the parents speak English comfortably. By the time you are 3 or 4 or 5, as a child, you're very comfortable with English. Many of the urban educated elite probably communicate in English to their children. Okay, when you study in English medium, I'm not saying Tamil or Odia should be made compulsory medium in those respective states. I merely said that English medium should be available for those who want it. For the rest, their language must be the medium, and you address it this way. Nobody is worried about, in fact, this self-confidence and all these inferiority complex, etc., comes not because you study math or science in English medium and somebody else studies that in Tamil medium. That comes when you are unable to express yourself in English. And when two friends talk, they don't talk about trigonometry, angles, and you know about this, etc. You talk about normal things. You have gone for a movie and you are going to talk about that. And if one is talking in English and you cannot respond back, that is when you feel inferior. That must be addressed. And that's simple functional stuff, right? So it's not a subject knowledge that you are actually going to discuss. You do that with your classmate who is going to be in the same medium. Job interviews, if let us say that job interview is in English, you should be adequately prepared to answer them in English. You have to write an algorithm. Let's say it's an IT job. You have to write an algorithm. That's just, numbers and symbols. Now, how you have thought through in your mind, you might be doing that in Tamil or Odisha, and somebody is doing it in English or Hindi. It doesn't matter. What is the output? The process is irrelevant. It's the output. And you have to communicate to somebody. If you can do that adequately in English, that is more than enough, and you won't feel inferior in such circumstances. Now, I'm just trying to talk about adjusting the curriculum appropriately. And I have not given enough ideas here, but we can certainly talk about that. How do you do that? It can be done, right? Where the schools, some of the schools that I have visited, where the school has not really, constrained the students to talk in one specific language. Most of the English medium schools tell their students that they have to talk only in English when a visitor comes. Okay? And then when the students stand up, they can't ask a question properly at all. But in schools where there is no restriction whatsoever, the students are very comfortable. They mix English, Tamil, they can ask any question, and if I treat them equally, they have no problems. So somebody is asking a question in English, then some other student stands up and asks in Tamil. They find that they are considered equal. So it is about, that's a social message, that's all. So if you send out the right marker, whether you communicate in Tamil or English, I'm going to treat you equally, people will find that there is no difference in choosing one over the other, right? There are a lot of subtle markers that are applied in these schools, whereby those who can speak good English, they will be placed in the first two rows. And then the slightly, the dodgier ones. And the last row, you will find that they'll be really bad in English. So what I normally do is I just go there to the last row and start talking to them. Suddenly, you break the barrier. And they can ask you in Tamil and you answer them in Tamil. The entire environment can be changed just like that. But these things are subtly enforced. This can be easily broken. That's not a problem actually. There are a lot of political issues there, and they have to be talked about. But picking up a language adequately, just about enough to survive, can be easily done. But to use that language to learn quantum mechanics, that is the difficult thing. And should one be doing that is the question. That's all that I'm asking. Nothing else. Okay.
Last question.
Yeah. Actually, no, I have been studying children for quite some time, and also the creation of knowledge. I think our fundamental confusion comes from the content of knowledge. The learning actually per se doesn't require language, right? To sit on this chair, I don't have to know language at all.
Yes.
The confusion is that when we mistake language, which is used for communication, as a cognitive source. Understanding actually happens irrespective of language. You don't need language at all to understand anything. Am I right? To sit on the chair, do I have to tell you in English? Can be anything. Another very important factor that we have been studying is how does actually language come into the child? You know? Now the fundamental difference I am finding is that what is now happening is that language precedes the experience. So there's a huge confusion. Actually, language should come as a marker of language, as a signifier of experience. Then there is no confusion. So the problem of cognitive damage is much more deeper, because we mistake language as the thing of,
Right.
So even the fact that you told about English, because we just ran a school for 3 years. And we did exactly this, that English we taught simply as a language. Today what is happening is that English is taught as a culture. People don't understand that English is simply a language and not a culture. The problem of modern India is this only, We are so pathetically colonized even today.
Thank you, Badri. And on behalf of all of us, it is, we convey our gratitude that you gave so much of your experience. Now, let us break for 10 minutes. And after that we reassemble here for fast technical session. And for the fast technical session, our theme is overall context, that is what we mean by meaningful education and exclusion. There will be 3 speakers, myself, Malcolm, and CKD. So let us be ready in 10 minutes time. Thank you very much.